Hello, I'm here today with the game Mercado de Lisboa, which is a competitive tile placement game built on some of the basic mechanics found in the game Lisboa, basically the downtown area, which was also designed by Vital Lacerda. It's an economic game in that you're using coins as both currency and victory points. This game was designed by both Vital Lacerda and Julian Pombo, who is a credited playtester and developer for CO2 Second Chance, Escape Plan, and On Mars. Artwork in the game is by Pedro Soto, and it was published by Eagle Gryphon Games. Let's go ahead and take a look at how to play the game. For setup, players must first decide if they want to play with hidden or open money. There are screens provided matching the player colors. You can use these to hide your money. The first player is the player who most recently visited the market. In addition to these screens, players also receive 8 wooden stands in their chosen color. I like purple, so I picked purple. They'll also get 1 money, and they'll take 3 stands from the bag when it's time. But before that, you're going to set up the restaurants on the board face down, placing them in the bag, and then drawing out at random, and then placing them face down. The face up side is more colorful and has a little bit more illustration going on in that they're now customers at the restaurant. After you've set up the restaurants, then you will take the bag. Each player will get 3 random tiles out of the bag for stands that they will use later on. And you'll place 3 on the board, 1, 2, and 3, that can be grabbed later in the game to fill out the board with stands. Next, you'll set up the customer tiles with 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, shuffling them and then placing them in stacks with 2 face up here. During the game, you'll have access to all 12 face up customers. In a 4-player game, you'll give the second pub tile that comes up, which is a restaurant tile, to the 4th player. Otherwise, just return it to the box if you don't have 4 players. Let's go ahead and talk about the market types. There are 5 market types. There are tomatoes, fish, flowers, meat, and grapes. These 5 stand types correspond to restaurants that are on the board, like tea shops, pizza shops, burger stands, sushi stops, and wine shops. There's also the pub tile, which is a wild. It has a stein full of beer and can be placed next to any stand to gain additional benefits. After you've set up the restaurants, the stands, and the customers, along with giving each player 1 money, as we mentioned before, you're all ready to go in the game. There are 4 main actions in the game. First, you can take $1 from the bank. This action is unavailable in the solo mode. Also, if all players take this action in a round, the game will end immediately in order to prevent a stalemate. So that's the first action. Take 1 money. The second action is to place a stand. When you do so, place one of your 8 stand pieces along with the stand square. Let's say I wanted to go here. I would place the stand. If there is a restaurant tile, I pick up that restaurant tile, placing it face up in my play area where other players can see. And then I pay a money depending on how many stands are in the row or column where I'm placing it. If someone had already placed a stand, let's say that they had placed this wine stand here, then this would cost me 2. And with my starting money, I wouldn't be able to do that with just 1. You're always going to look to the most in the row or column. Whichever has the most, that's how many you're going to pay. The third action I can take is to place a previously acquired restaurant. In this case, this is a sushi restaurant. I can place it next to my fish stand so that when customers come out, I will get additional points.
Additionally, whenever I place one of those restaurant tiles that are round, I get $1 for placing it.
Fourth action is to place a customer based on how many stands are in the row or column. The restriction here is that you may place a customer tile only if it meets both the number of stands and at least 1 food type depicted. In this case, there are no 1 customers that want fish, so I couldn't place any customers right now. However, let's say that yellow had placed this wine stand here, and this was available. I could take this to customer with the fish, and since there are now 2 stands here, I could place it on a market opening, and I would get 2, which is the number of customers, times 2, which is my stand, plus 1 for the restaurant that's next to it. Ultimately, I could maybe place another restaurant next to it, and then it would be 3 times 2, which would give me 6 money instead of 4. Or if I even had the pub somehow here, that would give me 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2, which 4 times 2 would be 8, which would be the maximum that this particular stand could get. If I have any additional stands in this row, I also get that money when it pays out. The maximum you're ever going to get is 32. Be aware of that. So for every matching, including wild restaurant, orthogonally next to a market stand, add 1 to the value of that stand. Then multiply that stand times the number of customers on the customer tile. It's actually pretty simple. Just look at the number of restaurants and stands that are touching that the customer wants and multiply those numbers times each other. That's how much money you get. Money, again, is both the currency and the victory points in this game. You can get additional points for adding more stands to a row later on to the other side of a column. Or row, you can also add additional customers. Let's say later on I had 3 stands in this row, looking maybe something like this and this, and I'd of course paid the proper amount, 2 for this one, 3 for this one. At that point, I could bring out one of these customers and I would get 3 plus 2 times 3, which is 9 total now, plus another 3 times 3 is 9. So I would get a total of 18 from this row or column, however you are looking at it. Gameplay continues to proceed like this until either only 4 available spots are left in the market area, out here in the board, or there are 4 customer entrances left. You're reminded of this here on the board. After a player has limited the board in this way, every other player takes 1 more turn. So what do I think about this game? Well, the stand pieces are friendly to those who are colorblind or can't see very well. They have a nice shape to them. I love that they are wood pieces. If you've watched my other videos, you know I prefer wood to plastic. It's nice to see that. I like the production quality. The cardboard is nice and thick. The colors are vibrant. The shapes are easy to make out. Everything in the production is nice. They gave you a nice Eagle Gryphon bag to draw from, even though it wasn't necessary. There's other ways to randomize, not a big deal. But this is the basic version of the game, and I still really like it. It is done well. I like the artwork too. The setting is great. It makes me want to travel again, as I'm sure many of you are ready to travel. This is filmed still early in 2021, May 2021. So I can't wait to travel. This game encourages that feeling and that feeling of wanting to escape and get out and see people and the world. And I enjoy that. It's easy to imagine playing all this game and thinking about that and enjoying those things, and maybe even playing this in an open air setting. The pieces are heavy enough that you can play outside. Once you get used to it, most games will last around 30 minutes, maybe up to 45 with 4 players, or if there's some analysis paralysis going on. So who might not like this game? Although the colors are bright and inviting, this isn't really a family weight game, even though it's pretty light. It's not going to be necessarily something that you want to introduce to your kids because of maybe the prevalence of drinking in the game, or just the fact that it's more of an abstract game. Even though there is this board with the bright colors and the people and everything else, it isn't a game that a kid is going to be like, oh, this setting really grabs me. I don't think. Maybe your kid's different. That's fine. But as the marketing suggests, it really is more of a thinky filler. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy both family games and thinky games, but this game rewards optimal placement and player efficiency, which may really frustrate some players, especially if they're playing against someone who has figured out how to make that work well in this game. There's also a bit of randomness in terms of the tiles that may come out and at what point they come out in the game, or maybe some area blocking. This is a very tight board. The space is very limited, and I think that's part of what makes it a good game, but that might frustrate some players too. I also played through the entire solo mode. The 9-game campaign of different challenges is really good. I like the challenges. I like how they made me think differently as I approached how to play the game. It was really a little bit of blocking and thinking about how to maximize what I was doing. Then this game really, as I said before, lends itself to that. The maximum, minimum players who are looking for that type of thing in a game. I had a fantastic time playing through all the solo challenges. I think they were thought-provoking and improved my understanding of how to play the game without getting dry, although there were some similarities throughout the solo campaign. At this time, it seems to me like this game plays best with 2 or 3 players, although I enjoyed the solo mode. Essentially, this is an abstract strategy game where some area control things are happening, and someone may make a move that just wrecks the perfect move that you were playing, or maybe they make a stand less meaningful later on that you were playing for, and they saw that coming, and so they just messed that up, and they were able to get some points. But it's a very tight decision-making game where your resources are important very early on, even though you're not sure exactly how you're going to develop. And since the board never gets bigger, you can always see and get ready for what is coming, even though you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You can react to the board state, and it never really feels too much like a take-that game, even though there is a bit of randomness and a little bit of area control and player interaction that way. I would play this game as a filler before or after another game. I think it's great. It's easy to teach, even though I initially made a mistake with the rules myself. That was just not careful reading because I was excited to get to it. I use filler when I describe this game to refer to how much time it takes, not to how deep the choices are. The choices are really deep. In this case, it's easy to learn and play through. It's easy to set up because the box has a nice little insert where everything goes. And it's a carefully crafted, limited resource game. You must push yourself to play it in the right way at the right time with the right move. There are better and worse moves throughout the game, and they're just a little bit different each time you play. I really like that. I love a game that challenges me to play while constantly evolving with the people I'm playing with at the time. That's a good game. I enjoy it in that way. So, Mercado de Lisboa by Vital Lacerda and Julian Pombo, art by Pedro Soto, and published by Eagle Gryphon Games. I would encourage you to check it out if those things sounded interesting. If not, let me know why not. Thanks for watching. Happy gaming. We'll catch you later.